Okay, so over the past couple months, I've been getting a lot of asks on my Tumblr about how I make band patches. So I'm finally getting around to doing a video showing how to do that. So I'll start off with the things you'll need, and I'll start off with the thing most complicated. So the way I do it, at least, you're going to need some Stencil Pro photo emulsion sheets, is what they call them. And I got it off of circuitbridge.com. They're not terribly expensive. I believe I got 10 of this size, or I think it was this size, for, I want to say $17. I could be wrong though. Anyways, so you buy these and they come in this dark Ziploc bag because they're photosensitive or light sensitive. And basically what you do is you'll get the design you want on the computer and you'll print it off on a transparency sheet like this, and you'll get a fresh one of these and you'll cover. I usually just tape it down with masking tape or something, and you'll get it like this, and you'll expose it to light, or to this, like, you can get a light box or you can use the sun, and I usually use the sun just because it's a lot quicker than a light box. And in the sun I usually expose it for somewhere between like 30 seconds and a minute. It just kind of depends on like the day and stuff like that. So you'll expose it, and basically the way it works is light is coming at this, and it's hardening. They're not like soft really, but it's basically hardening this pink stuff, and it's not hardening the part that's covered by the black because it's not getting exposed to the light. So then once that's been exposed, you'll go and you'll wash it out. You can either do it in really, really dim light, or you can get one of these light bulbs. It's like a darkroom light bulb. This just is yellow, some are red. So you'll wash it out gently with like a paintbrush would work, or you can just use your hands. Yeah, and so you'll wash out everything, so that's how you get these parts that aren't pink. You'd wash out the design and you're left with, like, I don't know if I can focus on it, it's just like a fine mesh, and that's what the ink is pushed through. So that's the photo emulsion sheet. It's the most complicated bit. I don't need that anymore. And then other things you're going to need are fabric. You could just use, like, say, this fabric, and this is what I'm going to be putting it on. And you'll just run the ink through that, but I'm going to make a double layer, so it's going to be these two fabrics. If you're just doing this, then you don't necessarily need this part, which is, it's a heat and bond paper. Basically, you just cut out a piece, and you iron it on, and it makes it stick. So that's what I'm going to do to bind these two fabrics. You could also use a sewing machine. I just find this to be a lot easier and faster. And also, you'd want this if you were going to put it on a jacket or a backpack or something like that, because it's just a lot easier than sewing it. So that's heat and bond. You can get this at like Walmart. I think for more than what I'm holding here, it was like $2.50. You're going to need a squeegee. This one's covered in ink. Yeah, you can get these basically anywhere. It doesn't have to be like an official squeegee. You could use something from, I don't know, like a window cleaner or something like that. The other thing you're going to need is fabric paint. You can also use like actual like ink, like clothing ink, but that tends to be more expensive, and you have to heat set it and all that. So this is just easier for me, and this is what I do. Although if you did use ink, your sheets, your screens would last longer if you used ink. But I'm using fabric paint, and you can get this specific brand at Walmart or other, like Michael's or other craft stores. So, yeah, that's this fabric paint. What else? You will need, if you're going to be using this, and basically just to flatten out your fabrics, you're going to need an ironing board and an iron. I usually use masking tape, but because I don't tend to have any at this current moment, I'm just going to use regular Scotch tape, and that's just to hold down the fabric while you're doing the screen. So that is all the materials you're going to need, I believe. Okay, so now I'm going to show how to basically run the ink through the screen. So first off, you're going to get the fabric that you want the design on, and you're going to tape it down to your surface. And I got this board type thing. It's like a foam board. I got it with the light box that I bought, but I don't use the light box anymore. I use the sun because I think it's better. But you can basically just put anything down. Like, you can just use a desk with some newspaper on it. You just want something there that you don't mind getting ink on, because the ink will go through the fabric, or the paint will go through the fabric. So you just tape this down. You can do all 4 sides or just 2. It doesn't really matter, but I'll just do all 4 sides for the sake of good measure. Alright, so once you get your fabric nice and down, then you're going to take your screen and you're going to have it to where the design would be facing you the correct way. You don't want to do it this way because then it'd show up backwards. And when you normally screen print, you do it backwards, but not this way. Or I believe you do it backwards. I don't know. So then you also tape this down. And this one I'm only going to do the bottom and the top. Okay. After you use these for a while and you're washing them out, they tend to get a little bumpy. So I didn't do a very good job at that. I'm going to peel this up and just start again. This is peeling up as well. Yeah, I do recommend masking tape. It works a lot better than this Scotch tape, but it'll have to do for today's video. Alright, so that's nice and down. I'm going to tape this end down just a tad because it's bubbling up. Alright, I'll just do the other one because why not? Use all the tape I own. Alright, so that's nice and down. So basically you're just going to take your paint, give it a good shake, open it up, and you're just going to do a line across the top. Just a nice thick line. And then you're going to take your squeegee and at a pretty low angle you're going to run it down the first time. They call that flooding the screen. And then at a sharper angle you're going to really push it through. And I usually just do it a couple times. And if I know there's like a weak point in my screen, I'll just go over that area specifically. So that is flooding the screen. Yeah. And so after you do this, you'll peel it up and you'll go wash this out because you don't want your paint to dry in the screen because then you won't be able to use it again. So I'm going to go wash this out. Okay, so after you've washed out your screen, you can either let this dry or you can just run a blow dryer over it for a minute or 2, which is what I did. Now I'm just going to be marking the lines that I'm going to cut along. So you want to cut it this, you want to mark the lines the size you want this bottom fabric or this top fabric to be. And I have this ruler here and a pencil, 2 things I forgot, to list in the materials needed part. This is just a, I think it's a sewing pencil, I guess. It's just a white marking pencil. So you just mark the lines you're going to cut along. So then once you do that, there's no reason for it to be taped down anymore. So you can just throw this away. Let's see if I've got my scissors somewhere. Of course I don't. I guess I'll just use these larger scissors here. You can use any scissors really, like you don't really need fabric scissors just because the fabric we're using is so thin. So you just cut this out along the line that you drew. So then once you've finished cutting it out, you'll have just this part yet, which is the main part of the patch, and you don't need the scraps anymore. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the heat and bond paper, cut out a piece the size of this, excuse me, and we're going to iron it onto here. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I'll move over to the iron. Okay, and so for this bit, you're going to need, of course, an iron, an ironing board, your bottom fabric, your top fabric, your heat and bond paper, and also just a normal, regular, any type of sheet of paper, preferably one without ink on it. And that is so that the heat from the iron, if it melts the ink on the patch at all, it won't get on your iron and make it sticky. As well as if there's, like, say, a corner where you left a bit of heat and bond sticking out, it also wouldn't stick to your iron. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your heat and bond paper and you're going to peel the backing paper off of it. If I can find the corner. Alright. And it doesn't matter if it's front or back, or the rough or slick side, just put any side down. And then you're going to place your fabric over top of that, as close to perfect as you can get. Alright. Believe I've almost got it. Alright. And then you're just going to place your paper over top. And you're just going to press down. And then you've securely attached the top fabric to the bottom fabric. Now I'm just gonna run it over a couple times for good measure. And then once you've done this, you're just gonna trim the edges. And then you're done. So I'll do that now. Okay, so once you've trimmed your border, then you are done. One optional thing I've been seeing people do that I haven't really ever done is you can take like clear nail polish or Mod Podge, and you can just take a paintbrush and lightly cover each border of both the top and the bottom fabric, and apparently that helps it from fraying, but I've just never really been one to do that. So let's see if I can get this to focus in. Maybe, maybe not. Well, anyways, this is as much of it's gonna focus, I guess. So yeah, you can just, like, you could probably leave a little bit more border than I did. That's just how I did it this time around. But yeah, after that, you are done. And that is how I make my patches. Alright.